me introduce Professor Işıl Günseli Kaçar, and I hope I pronounced this right. Dr. Işıl Günseli Kaçar is faculty member of the Department of Foreign Language Education at Middle East Technical University in Turkey. She is interested in preserving language teaching education, English as lingua franca, flipped learning, e-mentoring, the integration of technologies into English language teaching, virtual exchange, and academic rating. She is currently coordinating an Erasmus project called Flipped Impact, which is related to flipped learning and teaching. She has published nationally and internationally. She's one of the editors of a recent volume called TESOL in the 21st Century, Challenges and Opportunities. Thank you for having you. We are in Turkey. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Markus. So I'm very excited to be presenting. Yeah, it's such an international conference, and thank you for all the colleagues and Professor Markus for organizing such a great organization. Now, in this Congress, I'd like to present my paper on the establishment of digital trust in a virtual exchange environment. Yes, so basically I will be reporting the results of a qualitative study I conducted in the academic year 2020 and 2021 between Mexican and Turkish university students in a COIL project. Now, I'd like to start by reminding us of the features of the 21st century educational settings. As we all know, 21st century educational settings are characterized by 4 C's, such as critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. And I'd like to add to this equation technology integration as well. Now, as I told you, the context in my study is the virtual exchange environment. And in the virtual exchange literature, we also refer to virtual exchange as telecollaboration. It is a widely adopted educational practice, an integral part of instruction. Telecollaboration is referred to as online intercultural exchange or virtual exchange. In telecollaboration, participants are engaged in an online intercultural interaction in collaboration with their peers on an international level under the supervision of facilitators or instructors. Now, I'd like to move on to COIL. COIL is a special type of virtual exchange project. It is called a collaborative online international learning project, the full name. It's a more comprehensive form of virtual exchange. It fosters the intercultural competence development in multicultural learning environments through exchanges between faculty members and students from physically different locations and with different linguistic and cultural backgrounds. Instructors work collaboratively as a team in a remote fashion in COIL projects. And they aim to create a common syllabus focusing on student-centered, experiential, and collaborative learning. And participants in the COIL projects form online communities of practice. Now, I'd like to elaborate on the concept of the community of practice. So, the membership of an online community of practice has certain benefits for the participants. Firstly, the main benefit is it enables students to be engaged in an exchange of ideas, experiences, and resources. And there are multiple benefits of engagement in online communities for the community members, such as a reduction in the feelings of isolation, an accelerated rate of informal knowledge sharing in temporal and spatial terms, as well as new knowledge construction. There are also benefits of online professional learning communities. They provide personal learning opportunities for educators within and across schools. Also, they foster pre-service preparation and in-service educators within and professional organizations. Now, however, the online communities of practice, despite their multiple benefits, they also have challenges. The main challenges are establishing a virtual platform and expecting pre-service teachers or teacher educators to be engaged in a smooth and interactive interaction with a smooth flow of ideas. This is actually quite hard to achieve. If we talk about the prerequisites for the success of online communities of practice, in the first place, we can list such features as a strong bond or a well-developed interpersonal relationship, a sense of community, and a sense of group ownership. So these three are the sine qua non of successful online communities of practice. Now, in this context, I'd like to move on to the relationship between knowledge sharing and trust. Actually, in virtual exchange learning environments, knowledge sharing and trust are very important concepts, actually. And we can just mention a project where knowledge sharing and trust don't exist. So knowledge sharing is a communication process where one or more individuals are involved in the provision and acquisition of knowledge. Trust is the key element in the creation of a safe learning environment for a virtual exchange community. And it is the sine qua non of good group dynamics. Trust is a multifaceted concept, including one party's readiness to take risks of being vulnerable, given the other party's competence, reliability, honesty, and openness. It plays an important role in the establishment of cohesion in virtual exchange communities. It leads to the maintenance of interaction and quality knowledge sharing, not to mention the establishment of a strong affective bond and team spirit. Given that knowledge sharing and trust are two important concepts in virtual exchange learning environments, I'd like to point out the extant virtual exchange literature with a heavy focus on the benefits and challenges of virtual exchange programs. And also in the existent virtual exchange research studies, we see that they mainly focus on the participants' perceptions of the impact of such research on their personal and professional development. And to some extent, the recent virtual exchange studies focus on the task design and the role of task design in the success of virtual exchange projects. However, the impact of virtual exchange programs on the cultivation and development of digital trust is still underexplored. In fact, there is a paucity of research on online communities of practice in virtual exchange environments. To the best of the researchers' knowledge, there has been no study focusing on the investigation of how knowledge sharing and trust are cultivated and developed by online communities of practice in exchange context. So that's why we have decided to conduct such a study. Yeah, and now before I move on to the details of the study, I'd like to mention the theoretical frameworks that I adopted in this study. I adopted basically two frameworks. The first one is the Wenger's social theory of learning and the communities of practice. So Wenger's theory of learning is in accordance with the Vygotsky's theory of sociocultural cognitive development, and it advocates constructing knowledge through interpersonal interactions. Exploring knowledge sharing and trust from the perspective of social learning theory highlights the intricate nature of learning in a virtual social space. Community of practices are defined as groups of people working in collaboration to achieve common goals, to solve problems, share best practices, provide support for one another. And online communities generate an alternative social space for collaborative learning, irrespective of temporal and spatial boundaries. Now, I'd like to move on to the details of my study. I conducted a qualitative case study, and it aimed to investigate how knowledge sharing and trust are cultivated and sustained in an online community of practice in a COIL project with the participation of Mexican and Turkish undergraduate students in the fall semester of the 2020 and 21 academic year. The duration of the study is 6 weeks. Now, as to my study context, the exchange was embedded in an elective course called Language and Culture at the Turkish University, while it was embedded into a must course called Intercultural Competences at the Mexican University. The participation in the project was on a voluntary basis for both groups. Now, as to the participants, 41 English as a foreign language pre-service teachers of English from Turkey and 35 Mexican university students from different departments from Mexico participated in the study. The Turkish students were between 20 and 40 years old, while the age range for the Mexican students was between 20 to 27. As a sampling strategy, we adopted a purposeful sampling strategy. As the study addresses the ways knowledge sharing and trust are cultivated and maintained in online learning environments, so that was essential. And these participants actually are all participated in the study voluntarily. Actually, I'd like to say that we just had held not all the students actually in this cohort, both in the Turkish and the Mexican cohort participated in the study. So they were selected based on their interests actually in the cultural communication. And the data collection, the data in the study were collected via asynchronous tasks posted on a closed project Facebook group, and synchronous Zoom meetings with both groups, and the in-depth online focus group interviews with the participants at the end of the study, as well as participants' individual and group reflections posted on the closed Facebook group. Now, as to the task design, so we have used a 3-layer task design in the study. Information exchange, comparison and analysis, and collaboration. As it was used by Odot and Ware in 2009, we believe that using a 3-layer task design are likely to foster the cultivation and sustainability of trust among participants via knowledge sharing.
I have to say, we are running out of time. We cannot discuss all the methodology and the
sorry. Okay. Now, yeah, thank you. I'm so sorry. Yeah, thank you for the reminder, Professor Markus. Now, I'd like to just briefly show the tasks. So this is the ice-breaking task. So where participants would focus on the common points and strengths and challenges, and also the expected challenges and strengths during the collaborative exchange. And each participant in another activity, they need to talk about a cultural element that's important to them personally and as a member of a culture they feel connected with, and they're asked to talk about the cultural significance of these elements, and also they need to be engaged in peer commenting. And yes, so I'd like to move on to the last task. So in the and they're going to create a video together with their partners, reflecting an intercultural component. And also, as the last task, they're going to be engaged in making an intercultural magazine based on the United Nations sustainability goals, together both Turkish and Mexican group. And the data analysis was conducted via content analysis. Basically, inter-rater reliability, member checking, and data triangulation were used to strengthen the validity of the qualitative data analysis. Now, as to the findings, the interrelated nature of knowledge sharing and trust in the online communities of practice was noticeable, actually, as a result of the analysis. Now, as to the cultivation of knowledge sharing and trust, the 3-layer task design in the project was found conducive to knowledge sharing among the participants, and the incorporation of ice-breaking activities in small groups as a whole community via synchronous Zoom sessions in the initial stages of the project also promoted knowledge sharing, paving the way for the development of trust among participants by helping build a sense of community. And the utilization of a closed Facebook group as the online project platform was reported to foster a safe learning and knowledge sharing, contributing to building trust among the project participants. Now, as to the sustainability of knowledge sharing, sharing personal cultural experiences and exchanging intercultural experiences via various Web 2.0 tools and applications in the project, and encouraging peer commenting, sustain the knowledge sharing in the online project community. And also these practices promoted a growing sense of trust throughout the project, and it also fostered openness, one of the main facets of trust building. And here are some quotes, actually, that I found revealing. So what made COIL project so distinguished for me was definitely our energy as a group. I'm quite sure that our energy was as well when we're making our final presentation. So this clearly reflects, actually, the strong group dynamics. And and also the incorporation of a structured synchronous Zoom session had a favorable impact on the sustained knowledge sharing in the online community. Participants were encouraged to engage in a focused online discussion on hot critical issues and cultural stereotypes in their countries in breakout rooms. This helped them raise their intercultural sensitivity and awareness. Also promoted the emergence of multiple perspectives, and it led to the creation of a shared context for the ongoing online exchange flow. And as to the cultivation of trust, trust flourished actually in the participants through collaborative work in small groups, focusing on a common goal, particularly the last collaborative task, where they focused on creating an online magazine based on one of the UN's Sustainable Development Goal, actually was conducive to the establishment of trust. And this collaborative engagement also helped them develop a collective identity. I'm just finishing, I'm wrapping it up, I'm sorry. Yes, so assuming different roles in the task-related interactions, where participants display their expertise and uniqueness, also help them develop a sense of competence in the task-related knowledge domain, which also facilitated the cultivation of trust in the group. Yes, so the participants' commitment to the project, their sense of responsibility and their willingness to communicate when intra-group conflicts arose also affected the cultivation of trust positively. Now, these are some of the quotes. So, as you can see, there is an emphasis on the impact of collaboration and harmony, and also their intercultural conflict management strategies in these quotes. Yeah, it says that something I really like is that we all were committed to the project. So we made a space in our agenda to make a Zoom meeting. So when we think of the lockdown context, actually, you know, they are very stressed out and they had lots of things, you know, to catch up with. So this was an important impact. So the cultivation of trust, I would say that course instructors acted as moderators, and they also played an important role in the as the catalyst between participants, establishment of trust and the knowledge sharing by designing diverse and graded tasks, by providing constructive and timely feedback, and showing acknowledgement actually concerning the participants' post on the Facebook. In a nutshell, you know, they kind of created their teaching presence very effectively. And
we really have to come to an end. I'm terribly sorry.
Okay. Yes, so in general, the project says the establishment of an active student-centered learning environment, embracing diversity based on mutual understanding, tolerance, and respect, contributed to the knowledge and trust formation among the participants. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, actually, for giving me the chance to present. Yes, so I think a study provides a clear picture of how online communities function as social learning spaces, and it emphasizes the salient role trust plays in knowledge sharing in online communities. Thank you for listening. Here are my references.
Thank you so much. A really great project.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Günseli.